Did you listen to Jeff and Professor Hamo in the morning? Here's what you missed.
So, 23 minutes past the hour, 8 o'clock. You know what that means, Katiba?
Katiba.
A story a day. You know, Katiba's been telling me about this story for the longest time. And I don't know why he has such fascination with it. But, I guess the more I read about it, the more, it just sounded so unreal.
Yeah.
When we were growing up,
yes,
there was a book written by and look it up, Frederick Forsyth, a very famous author. Frederick Forsyth, yes. It was called The Dogs of War. The Dogs of War, very famous book, and it was very fictional, right? So these Muzungus living, great lives of ex-military men, they recruit soldiers in Africa and around the world to go and take over governments. The Dogs of War, they call them. In fact, in the Seychelles, it happened. In Comoros Islands, it happens. Those days, those days, early days of coups in Africa, in the 60s and 70s, there were lots of what you call Dogs of War. Okay.
So these are the African soldiers now.
No, not all of them. European, lots of Muzungus, ex-soldiers. So they put some money together. They have a financier. He puts together a team, recruits these soldiers. Some of them African, some European, some American, and they fly into an African country and do a coup. And it was very successful. By the way, it was successful in certain places.
Yes.
Fast forward, 2004. Now, one of Africa's wealthiest countries at that time is a country called Equatorial Guinea, EG. Wealthiest in terms of minerals, but poorest in terms of distribution.
Yes.
For a long time, it's actually been ruled by one family. Since independence, it was Mashes Nguema. And by the way, Equatorial Guinea is the only former Spanish colony in Africa.
Only?
There's only one.
Yes.
There's only
Equatorial
one.
Guinea.
EG.
How do you know again?
Spanish.
Spanish.
Yes. There's Portuguese, of course, when you talk about Sao Tome, Principe, Angola, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, all those are former Portuguese. French, of course, Francophone Africa.
West Africa.
Correct. And of course, English speaking,
English.
Yes. So only one is a former Spanish colony, Equatorial Guinea. And independence was ruled by a guy called Mashes Nguema. Right? And he had a horrific history, including cannibalism. 1979, he was overthrown by his own nephew. That's this one, Nguema.
This is another Nguema.
Yes. So throughout its history, it's been ruled by one family.
Wow.
And this man, this Nguema, is the one who appointed his son as foreign minister and vice president. Remember the guy we read about?
Yes.
Who has a mansion and a palace in the south of France. He's got Maseratis and Porsches and all kinds of vehicles in South Africa.
Yes.
He was living large until they impounded them. Major baller. Until they impounded most of his assets.
Yes.
Right? So anyway.
So this is the son of
the president, Nguema, right? Who is the VP, so you can tell, who's going to take over.
Of course, the lineage continues.
In the family function.
In loyalty. So, kingdom.
It's a very small population in Equatorial Guinea, less than 1 million. At the time, in 2004, it was probably about 500,000. But the oil reserves they have and the gas reserves must say it can make that country another Dubai or Qatar. That's what experts were saying. It was such a rich country. Is such a rich country.
Oh, yes.
And I told you I flew there once, right? A place called Bata Island.
Yes. You went to Bata, where they have where they have the black.
Yes.
The black
beach. Black beach. Very notorious beach because they had tried to take over this country a few times. And everyone who lands in Equatorial Guinea lands at Black Beach. And then, they go through their way. But it's a very tiny island. Anyway, 2004.
Yes.
This guy called Simon Mann, Englishman, he went to the best of schools. He went to Eton in the UK. Then he went to Sandhurst Military. He was a proper military man. So now he teams up with a whole bunch of people. I think they had read or they had seen the movie The Dogs of War. So he teams up with and he gets a financier to help him take over Equatorial Guinea, because they say, these guys are mismanaging this country. If we take over, we put our guy in there, we can get all these oil and gas reserves. So they went and recruited guys. These guys, many of them belong to former South African organization called Executive Outcomes. Now, EO, Executive Outcomes. Same thing. They were ex-soldiers who used to be hired by not governments, actually, governments and rebels. I met them in Liberia when I was there, late 90s, and they were fighting on the side of the government. But sometimes they fought on the side of rebels. But they were mercenaries. They were literally mercenaries for hire. Executive Outcomes. When Mandela came into office, he banned them, but they could still operate out of the country, and they did under different names. Anyway, fast forward, Simon Mann hires his own team, just like Executive Outcomes. They put together a team. They start training in South Africa, and they said, the coup is going to happen in Equatorial Guinea, and this is how it's going to go. It's going to happen on this certain date. We hire a plane, we hire soldiers, we train, we get equipment, kila kitu. Part of the problem, because they started off in South Africa, they were, you couldn't take equipment out
from South Africa.
It's difficult to how do you justify all these arms and you put them on a plane? Where you going? So they decided, they had a contact in Zimbabwe, and they said, okay, Zimbabwe we'll fly in, routine flight, load the stuff in Zimbabwe, and then fly out to Equatorial Guinea. Bada bing, bada boom, this thing is easy peasy. Fast. So they do that. On the day of the coup, they fly out from Pretoria, and they set off to Harare. And they land beautifully, nicely, everything is good in the evening. And Johnny, they're waiting now for the equipment come from the warehouse. They load it. They go to bus. So the equipment is loaded. Everything is going smoothly, fine, everything. They take off, right? And then it's not clear what the reason was, and I think it's typical, kuna mtu hakulipwa yake.
Of course, kuna mtu alirushwa. Kuna mtu alirushwa. Kwani utatupeleka wapi na video ya nchi? Who are you?
Intelligence.
In South Africa or in
they say either it's in South Africa or Zimbabwe. They alerted. It has to be in South Africa, because they alerted the Zimbabweans. And as these guys were taking off, they were told, slow down, we just need to manifest. Manifest in this Equatorial Guinea. They stopped the plane. They boarded the plane. And all these mercenaries are there.
They already.
Yes. It's like a 3-4 hour flight from Harare,
Equatorial Guinea.
Bus, all of them arrested. Wazungu water. And they were taken to a very notorious Harare prison. And they spent months, and then now the whole story starts to unravel. The Equatorial Guineans are informed, and these guys will come in to take over from you.
My goodness. And the Ngwemas now.
Yes. Sasa Ngwemas wanasema, we want these guys to be tried here.
Walete
to Black Beach.
Wow. Where they were being, they used to shoot people.
On the beach they used to just shoot them. And they said, bring them here, we try them in Equatorial Guinea. For months and months and months. Investigations, now it's unraveling the whole thing. It was alleged that the son of Margaret Thatcher, former British Prime Minister, Mark Thatcher, apparently he was one of the financiers.
Oh man.
Imagine. And then, a lot of evidence there, and if you can read the stories online, from New York Times to the New Yorker, everywhere, the stories about how this coup was financed. So they spent months in a Harare jail, and then they are extradited to Malabo. Malabo is the capital of Equatorial Guinea. Uyu Simon Mansasa.
The whole team.
Bas.
Kujeni.
Yes. Died in prison. See what government pressure, nini. They spent years in an Equatorial Guinean jail. Years.
They were never executed.
No. Well, not that we know of. Not that we know. Labda kuna hao wengine KYMs.
Wewe unajua kitu hujui pitia hapa.
I'm telling you, the story is the stuff of movies.
Man.
It is. It's the dogs of war.
Uchawi ni real. You have equipment, you are ready, your mercenaries are ready.
Yes.
Wamepakwa mafuta, they are ready.
They're ready to take over a country and install their own puppet there.
And then
because of resources. Can you imagine? And it wasn't the first time they had done this. I mean, obviously, they had read too many books, right? They thought that in Hollywood that you can just fly in.
We need to repeat these stories.
But my friend, I had met a lot of those mercenaries in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, those countries, and they're paid. I mean, they're the ones who have all the equipment, helicopters, high-powered guns, They have the resources, and whichever side pays them, whether it's in diamonds, and that's why blood diamonds was such a big thing back then, or they pay them in hard currency. They would fight on whichever side.
Yeah. What do you have
so
now?
This particular one was called the Wonga coup. The Wonga coup.
Wonga coup.
Yeah, Wonga is a British slangish word for lots and lots and lots of money.
And they knew it. Walikuwa wanajua ni shabiki.
Jackpot.
Walikuwa wamepenya na.
I'm telling you, man, had it succeeded.
Until today ingekuwa bado inaendelea na shida because whoever was installed then
would have had his own shida. I'm telling you, but Nguema is still in power. His son is still the vice president and foreign minister.
He's being groomed
to take over from the dad.
And he's grooming
40
his
years
wife.
later, 79.
Wow.
40 years later, the guy is still in power.
But the first Nguema had to go.
Marcius, ule
mkulaji wa watoto.
What?
My goodness.
This is what we call a story a day.
96. Nunge and Professor Hamo every day, Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Hot 96.